Hey, what is going on, guys? Hope you're having a fantastic weekend. It's been fun over here. Rusty's having some major camera issues. Apparently, it's back. We thought we had it resolved, but it's all good. We're going to have some fun tonight, whether your camera cooperates or not. Welcome to 108th episode of the AV Experience podcast. We're excited that you're here. We're going to hang out, have some fun, give you some updates on MWAVE. Ryan and Jonathan are both getting their theater rooms ready for MWAVE 2024. So I'll share some updates, photos that Ryan sent me of the MWAVE Experience Center. And then Jonathan's patching up some drywall and doing some tweaking because he wants his theater room really dialed in for his guest, the VIP home theater experiences that'll be experienced in his home theater. So super pumped that you're here. We'll say hi to some folks in the chat. Let me pop over here. Richard, good to see you. Starlight. Who else we got? Finster. Leadership Push. SRW 1000. Chris is in the house. Electron, good to see you. Daryl. Living It with Scott and Kat podcast. Theo. Charlie B. Lots of folks in the chat. Gene's here. Benny's here. Dingle's here. K-Man. Lewis. Tarhoya. Good to see you guys, man. So we have a lot of fun. I like this one. Check this out. Where was it, Rusty? Got folks from Dallas, but where is my man from Singapore? If you see that comment, pop it up there. I know it's real close. I see Ohio, Dayton. Here we go. Howard, good to see you, man, from Singapore. That's awesome. It's always cool and it's fascinating to me to know that we literally have people watching the channel and following the podcast literally all across the world, man. So that's just pretty wild to me, Rusty.
It is. And when you sent out that email the other, I guess it was just yesterday, and you said we're representing, what was it, 13 countries and 33 states, something like that?
Yeah, check this out. Let me pull it up here.
I couldn't believe that.
I think it's pretty awesome. So just, my heart is just grateful, to be honest with you. It's one of those things when you create an event like MWAVE, and honestly, the first year, you're just hoping people actually come.
Yeah.
And then they do, and you're like, well, dang, this is pretty cool.
That's fun.
Let me share my screen real quick. So let's actually delete that one.
It certainly takes a leap of faith to do what y'all have done.
It is, man. It's all right. Here we go. So yeah, I shared it just I guess, what was this, yesterday? So we got 13 at that time. We had 13 days to go. We had just added Germany to the list of countries that'll be attending MWAVE 2024. We have folks traveling from, and I spelled traveling wrong. We have folks traveling from 37 out of the 50 states at that time within the U.S., which is pretty stinking amazing. MWAVE is a perfect opportunity to meet and connect with some other home theater enthusiasts. Here you can see the list of states as well as countries. We got Alabama, Alberta, Canada, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, District of Columbia, England, pretty awesome, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, Nevada, New Jersey, New York. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Nordheim.
Rio de Janeiro?
Westfalen. No, the Nordheim.
Oh, I was behind.
Not sure where that one's at. North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Ontario, Canada. We got Oregon, Paris, love it. Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Rio de Janeiro. I know how to pronounce that one. South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. And so that's pretty cool. And so here you can see a map of all over the U.S., of course, which I would expect that. Me down here representing Florida. I think there's like 12 people from Florida that's coming. That's pretty exciting.
That's nice.
Need to find out who all they are and go hang out with them sometime.
Yeah, there's a big circle around Texas, it looks like.
Dude, y'all have a big showing from Texas. It is. I think there's like 36 people from Texas that are coming.
I think we outnumber Kansas people. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, I think you actually do. We got Canada up here. There's UK over in this area. Let's see, it was UK, England. Trying to remember. Oh, wow. I'm such an idiot. Look at it. I even have it right down here. Let's make it easy, guys. US, Canada, Germany, France, United Kingdom, Puerto Rico, and Brazil. Brazil way down here, dude. That's just amazing to me to know that you guys are supporting this event, coming out, hanging out with us. We're going to have a blast. Rusty, it's in 11 days.
Can you believe it? All that time leading up to it, and then all of a sudden it's here.
It's an entire year process. I mean, literally, I've been working on this since last year. And of course, the closer we get to it, the past 6 months started ramping up. Past 3 months really started ramping up. And then the past 2 months is literally pretty much working on it every single day.
Well, it's been great seeing all the ticket sales coming in here in the past couple of weeks. It's really ramped up. I just logged in and checked it. We are at 376 as of this minute, and they've been getting more, not less. So I think I'm still hoping we can break 500. I'm reaching.
Last year we had 50 people, probably within the past, like the 5 days. Like we're talking all leading up to Sunday, we had ticket sales. So that was about 50 people. So definitely, there's plenty of opportunity for you if you're interested to join us. June the 21st through the 23rd. We'd love to have you join us for the Midwest AV Experience. All the details, tickets, information about seminars. There's 13 different seminars that we've got and tech talks that you can enjoy. I'm still working on getting that prepared to be able to offer to you guys if you're interested in purchasing those after the fact, because we know a lot of you can't make the trip. It is expensive to fly, to make travel arrangements, hotel, all that stuff. But
well, and even for the people that make it there may be, I know personally, sometimes I want to go back and listen to that one part again. You know, there's a 5-minute part in there that I didn't write down my notes or something, or maybe, you know, and our intention here is we're offering a buffet. We don't expect you to eat everything on the buffet. You pick the things that you enjoy the most. Unless you're just one of those people that says, I'm going to put them out of business. And, you know, I know those buffet types. So
they make sure they get their money's worth.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it'll be $75 for as many as we can possibly film. And so I've already contracted with 2 guys that are going to help me film those and coordinating with them. And so we're just I think we can get at least 8 of them. That's the goal. If we can film more, then you're going to get more. But that's really kind of what we're shooting for. So it'd be $75 for access to all of those. What I'm holding off, the reason why I haven't started ticket sales is I'm looking at 2. I'm waiting to hear back from one company to find out if we can do it through their platform. If not, it's going to take me a lot more work. I can get it done. But this other one would just make it much easier for me. It literally would be turn it on kind of thing versus coding into our existing website. So, but I'm waiting to hear back from them. If I don't hear back from, honestly, by tomorrow, I may just end up building it. So I'm trying to save me some time and some energy. And, but if it doesn't work out that way, then I'll code it myself. So, but yeah, man. So let me give you a couple of updates. So I mentioned to you that Ryan is not here and Jonathan is not here, but Ryan sent me some photos of where he's at. So this is what he's working on. Let me remove this little banner here. All right. So any guess what this is? Rusty, you probably know.
I know, but that's,
let me know in the chat. What do you think?
That is, it's hard to believe. Sorry, I got distracted.
It looks like Swiss cheese. I don't know. That is Ryan's subwoofer. So that is the 50-inch Ascendo subwoofer. It's going to go in this cabinet. Let me see if I've got, let's see. Oh, you know what? I started at the very end. That's okay.
I think Ryan had said last week, it's like 20 sheets of Baltic birch.
That's a
something like that. That is a ton of plywood. And I was like, how could that can't possibly be right. And you look at this.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I've never seen so much bracing in a cabinet.
That's an enormous amount of bracing, like enormous. And the guy that's doing, I think I got a picture of him here. You can see what do we got? Storm, got some Buckeye amps, Mad VR, Envy Extreme, Kaleidoscape. That's a Blue Sound, I believe, down at the bottom.
Yep.
Not sure what that
There's
is.
Trenov.
Oh, we got more stuff over here. I didn't even see that. So we got Trenov.
2 racks.
So I'm assuming those are the amplifiers, but it could be the Trenov processor too.
I think there's probably both.
Okay. So because he may be able to, I know he was wanting to be able to switch back and forth. So that's part of what he's going to want to accomplish. So this is the man here. So this is Doug. Doug is an incredible, incredible craftsman. Doug builds his own. I did his home theater tour. Gosh, it was probably 2 years ago, but just an incredible, gifted guy. So he has, Ryan said, hey, look, we can't fit this subwoofer down my stairs to my basement. It's a 50-inch subwoofer. So I need some help. So we're going to have to take this driver out. And could I hire you to build this? And so Doug is building this. They contacted Ascendo. They gave him the green light. And Doug is constructing this. So he's actually, I think, making it even slightly bigger than the original one. And here, I'm assuming this is it, right?
It looks like it.
So I'm not sure. I kind of thought that we would see the driver in the front. I think that's the plan, but unfortunately, I don't have Ryan here to kind of give some clarification. He said, here's some photos. I got to get back to work. You know, he's off to the races. And then here's another one that's pretty cool. So these are 2 32-inch subwoofers from Ascendo. And
just for perspective, Ryan's like 8 feet tall. So
yeah, he's a big boy. I think he's 7 foot. Was he? No, I'm sorry.
He's really like 6'4", I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly, but he's tall.
6'4", 6'5", but he's a big boy, and he looks like a child kid, on these subs.
Yeah. So you got 2 32s. There are 3 pictured of the 21s, and if I remember correctly, Rusty, remind me. I think there's 2 32s. Is there 6 or 8 21s? I think there's 6.
I have to go to your website.
Take a look.
Midwest AV Experience to figure it out because I can't remember it.
Yeah, I think he's going to have 6 21s. I think there's more than 2 32s, but I could be wrong.
All right. So for subs, well, this says subs 8 21s, but and then
so that means I'm guessing he's going to put some on the sides and probably some in the back. Oh, he did mention that he didn't have those stacked yet.
Yeah, the 21s are going to be stacked.
Yep.
So. And then there's 2 32s and 150.
So that's the 2 32s there that he's sitting, to the left and right of him. And then the 50 is going to be this one. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to see it because
it's going to be bonkers, man.
It's so insane. It's insanely awesome.
Yeah.
And as Brian would say, I hope it doesn't suck.
I hope it doesn't suck. It's going to be amazing. There's no doubt. The MadVR Experience Center is going to be super, super cool. So we're excited for Ryan. I know he's stressed to the max, man. That is a big stinking project, especially when you are trying to finish it in a deadline, by MWAVE, which is 10 days away. So I'm glad he's not here to hear that because he probably would go into a little panic. But yeah, man, they're having fun. He's got an enormous amount of work to do, but excited for him. So. Well, cool, man. Rusty, anything else you got going on? I know I got some new stuff that arrived.
Let's see, nothing too exciting. I did take a little bit of time and we started watching Monarch, the series with the kind of the Godzilla monster movies, and it's been pretty good. I've enjoyed it. So it's fun. We've watched 3 or 4 episodes now, but my movie watching has slowed way down over the past few months, so I'm looking forward to getting back in the theater, getting back in my happy space.
I know it, man. You gotta get that. Are you done with your business stuff? Are you still working on that?
So I got one more.
Okay.
I was done, and then
that's been consuming your whole life for the past couple months.
It really has. I had no idea how intense that would be, and I was done, and then can't help myself. I just keep selling stuff. So. It's because we're breaking it up into smaller, selling product lines instead of the business as a whole. Sure. So that's every time we sell a new product line, then it's the whole process again. Yeah, but it's gone very well. I can't complain. It's just
a lot of pieces.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
but
I
it's
get it.
good. How about you? Have you watched any movies lately? Anything on the
No,
TV?
no, no. I mean, we
Yeah.
watched Survivor, watched the final episode, and that was literally it. It's been all MWAVE. It's been all reviews. I had a home theater tour that I flew out to in Louisiana.
Oh
So
yeah, you had that big. I saw it and I put it in my queue, and I
yeah,
haven't watched it yet, but I'm
I'll
excited
be
to.
honest, Rusty, you need to check it out.
I
This
know.
was, if you guys have not seen that, it's called the Tombstone Home Theater Tour. This gentleman's 78 years old. So if you guys remember the $1 million Star Wars home theater, the gentleman that owns that is named Charlie. So Charlie's father-in-law lives right next door to him, saw Charlie build his home theater, and he's like, "Hey, Charlie, think you can build me one? But I want it all Western, man." And he's 78 years old. Charlie's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So Charlie builds this thing for him with, all the stuff that Tully loves and grew up. And so this story, and I really look at it as a story, it's Tully's story. It's so much more than the gear. It's so much more than the GTZ 380 projector and the Trinov processor. We talk about that and we show you that, but man, hearing his heartbeat and why he wanted a theater and how much movies and Westerns and guns meant to him growing up is just really, really just an awesome, heartfelt story. And then we spend a lot of time sitting down with Charlie, the son-in-law, and Charlie kind of tells us the how and the why of what went into building this home theater. So that was just super, super cool. So if you haven't had a chance to watch, it's long. It's about an hour and 6
15,
minutes,
yeah.
something like
I
that.
thought it was an hour and 15.
Could be. I lost track of time.
But hey, you might want to give a shout out to Jake.
I haven't seen anything yet. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Jake, I did in the comments of the video or in the description. So Jake did an amazing job. I have, what are we at now on my channel? I have 900 and let me take a look real quick. I think I've got
995.
Yeah, 995 videos.
Man, you're coming up on a big milestone. You got
1,000 videos on the channel.
And you should have waited and posted this 5 videos from now. This would have been a good 1,000th anniversary or 1,000th video.
Yeah, so I have 995 videos on the channel. I have filmed almost all of those. The ones that I haven't filmed, I hired like Brad to film when I'm at Cedia, as a cameraman, so I can just focus on the conversation. Things like this particular home theater tour, the big ones, I hire somebody like Brad, and Brad filmed this one. He does an amazing job. And again, it keeps me from having to worry about lighting and aperture and shutter speed and all the technical stuff that goes into it. I can focus on the conversation with the guest and the host. So that was super cool to be able to do that. But Brad was a great, great help again on this one. But 996 videos or 995 videos, and I've edited all of them except for one, and that was this one. And so I hired a gentleman by the name of Jake. So Jake Parker is a videographer, editor, and he's going to be at MWAVE this year, helping me with some videography there as well. Him and Benny Sibbett, which I saw Benny in the chat. But Jake did an amazing job on the edit. And the reality, if I wouldn't have hired him, it probably would have been another 3 weeks before you guys saw that video. Because it took him about 4 days to edit it. It would have taken me about the same, 3 to 4 days to edit it. Took us a little bit longer just because, honestly, I'd have to upload the files to him. He'd have to download the files. Then he would have to export the file. Then he would have to upload it to me so I could check, so there's just some extra steps versus me looking at the video and going, okay, I need to change that. So I'd have to communicate to him. He'd make the changes, export the video. Fortunately, we only had 2 versions, I guess, of the video. I just had a few small tweaks. I asked him to add a couple B-roll at specific spots and a couple little tweaks, just some minor stuff. And we had one little goof up, and I'm totally okay with that. At near the very end, there's probably about a 30-second spot of just blackness. You hear us talking, but yeah, it's just black. So
it happens.
I didn't watch the second version. I figured, everything's good. I watched the first one. So Not a big deal though.
Well, out of an hour and 15 minutes and 24 seconds, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. So, but just it's literally probably one of the best videos that I've done. Just the storytelling, the B-roll that Brad took and that I took, and then the editing that Jake did, just collaborative. It was just really awesome. And Charlie being involved in it, we got a chance to see a lot of the background stuff, a lot of photos and videos that Charlie took of the build itself. So that was cool seeing that behind the scenes. So that was just super, super cool.
It's getting a lot of views too. You're already at 17,000. That's pretty good, right?
For my size channel. I mean, I'd never have any viral videos, but for me to get 17,000 views in like a couple of days, that's a lot. So I think the most I've ever done is 16,000 views in one day in 24 hours. So,
nice.
And that's,
well, I see one of your clips videos has 1.1 million views.
Took 6 years though. 6 years to get that. Yeah.
Still an accomplishment.
So, but it's not about the views. Of course, as a content creator, we want people to see the video because you put all this time, you put all this effort, you have this passion, and you want to share that with people. So yeah, I mean, we'd love for more people to see it and view it. And it allows me as a content creator to continue to provide more cool stuff for you guys. So, but on my end personally, so I've got 2 packages that just arrived, or shipments, not packages, 2 shipments. One came in on Friday, one came in today. I sold my NZ8 and I bought the NZ800. So I'm excited about that. It's not going to be a massive change, but it will give me some additional brightness, a little bit better contrast. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm going to be swapping out the MadVR Envy Extreme Mark I for the Mark II. And so I'll be doing some videos on that as well.
So what prompted you to go with the 800? Because I know you've only had the NZ8 for a little while. So what was your thought process?
Yeah. So I bought the NZ8 kind of not the end of its life cycle. Well, I guess it really was at the end of its life cycle. You know what I'm saying? Because I went from the NX7.
Yeah.
And the main reason I upgraded to the NZ8 was the brightness. On a 150-inch diagonal screen, the NX7 just really isn't bright enough. That was my only beef with that thing. I loved it. It's a beautiful image, but I just always like, man, I wish it was a little bit brighter.
And that's with a 1.2 gain screen, right?
No, it's technically, it's about a 0.9. It's not a plus. It's more on the neutral.
I thought you had you had the Seymour XD, right?
I do. That is not a 1.2. That is on their website. I think it says it's like a 1 or something like that. I thought it was 1, maybe a 1.1 or something. But the actual measurements from third party kind of stuff, they basically say it's somewhere between a 0.8 and a 0.9. So it's slightly in the negative.
Yeah, that's a little different than what I'd heard, but because I have an XD also, and they give 2 numbers on screen gain, and it's a little bit confusing the way they phrase it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they do it the way they do it, because they give the industry standard number, which the industry standard number is 1.2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then they also give you the real number, which is what I appreciate about Seymour. And I thought they reported it at 1.0 as like real.
And that's what I thought too. That's what I said in my video.
Okay.
Dude, people came out of the freaking woodwork like, oh, you're not getting whatever nits. There's no stinking way. Because I was doing the math on a 1.0.
Yeah.
They're like, no. I mean, like, they get mad at you when you're claim, like, dude, this ain't a contest. I'm just sharing,
How dare you be off by 0.1?
It was crazy, man. I mean, like, they were just hammering me. And so finally I did some research and I asked a couple of guys that I know and trust. And they're like, yeah, I actually have measured that screen. It's probably around a 0.9, between a 0.8 and 0.9. So I'm like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Y'all like fried me over 0.1 difference, man.
Well, I thought it was 1.0 true. So I've been saying mine wrong too.
Yeah, I would think so, but again. So anyways, I'm excited about that. I actually have a gentleman coming over on Thursday. We'll get the NZ8. My goal is I want to at least measure it before I take it down. I don't have anything fancy. It's a really kind of a basic light meter, basically. But I just figure I want to be able to just see, like, what are the differences? Is there any difference? There should be a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and as long as, even if it's not the best light meter, it may not be calibrated to like a NIST standard,
yeah,
but as long as you use the same meter in the
correct.
same way
Yeah,
and you get decent repeatability,
yeah,
and you can test repeatability just by
sure.
doing multiple measurements.
Yeah.
But if you're getting pretty decent repeatability,
Mhm.
well, you're just doing an AV
Yeah.
NZ8 versus NZ800. And
Yeah.
what is that, like 200 lumens brighter?
I'd have to go back and look and see. It's not going to be massive difference. What I think I shared this with Rusty. It's one of those things where this is my full-time job. It'd be like, let's say a construction worker buying, more expensive tools because that's what they use every single day. So it's one of those things. If somebody has let's say an NZ8, what I recommend, I think I did this in my video when they first announced them. I don't think I would necessarily, like, most people aren't going to upgrade. It's not going to be like, oh my goodness, unless you're the type of person that you just need the latest and greatest, you got the extra funds, go for it. But the average consumer, man, the NZ8's a beautiful, beautiful projector. And if you don't need the extra lumens, then you should be totally fine.
Yeah.
The NZ9, NZ 900 was just way out of my budget. So that's kind of like my max tier right there. So
it looks like it is 200 lumens.
okay.
So it's gone from 27, I'm sorry, from 25 to 2700.
Mhm.
So an 8% increase, which is nice. I mean,
Mhm.
especially when you think you're only 300 away from what the NZ9 is.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's good. Now, do you run with the color filter,
Mm-mm.
the wide gamut?
Yeah. The biggest reason is because I don't have enough light output.
It kills a lot.
Yeah.
So since you have a fixed CinemaScope screen, have you
Mhm.
considered doing one of the anamorphic lenses
I
to get
haven't.
more brightness?
I haven't yet. Part of the problem, I might be okay because I basically have a window, like a square about that big,
Yeah.
that the lens sits there. So as long as it fits kind of in that spot and sticks out, that would be fine. But I just really don't have any much. I mean, I only have a couple of inches in front of the projector, like on the sides,
Mm-hmm.
and same thing in the back. I mean, I'm back almost as far as I can. I just have a ton of room above it, but I don't have a lot of forward and backwards.
Yeah.
So as long as it didn't impede, intrude, whatever the word is, as long as there is enough room to mount that, I might could do it.
That would be a fun project. I'd be interested to hear your perspective on doing that lens with that NZ800
Mhm.
and your fixed CinemaScope
Mhm.
and like all those. I think it would be interesting to kind of a good experiment.
Yeah.
Um, I've always struggled, the
Mhm.
big is it worth it question.
Mhm.
And those lenses are,
Yeah.
man, as much as the projector sometimes. So I know everybody's got a different take on it, but
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, guys. I've been talking and I haven't looked at the first thinking comment. So
I
I don't
haven't
think I don't
either.
think I don't think we've starred any, and I don't even know if, oh yeah, it'll let me star them. Okay, we're cool. I'm just gonna pop through some real quick.
You want to? Oh, you're just gonna go through some
Oh
comments.
yeah, that's true. We can hit our topic tonight. Let's hit our
It's up
topic.
to you, man. You're the boss.
I know it, man. I'm just all over the place because I've got so much going on in my brain right now with MWAVE, and
Well,
it's just 1,000 miles a minute. So do me a favor while I'm introducing the topic for tonight. If you'll go through and star at least some of these,
yeah, I'm gonna
even if they're
pull
just
this.
good, even if they're just good comments or whatever. If there's questions or comments, and but if you'll go through those, that'll be super cool. All right. So topic for tonight is, what was that, Rusty?
That's me. I'm trying
Your
to
other
mute
camera?
it.
Okay. Best advice for a home theater. Now, what this discussion isn't, is me telling you how to build a home theater. I've never built a home theater from scratch. I have an existing room that I converted into a theater room. But I thought we were gonna have Jonathan, have Ryan, and I figured, well, Ryan's building one literally. Yes, it's not from scratch in a way, but it kind of is because he's renovating his whole dang basement. And Jonathan, he has a big basement. Rusty, is yours in a basement?
No, I'm in Texas. We don't have basements.
Yeah,
There's maybe one house out of 10,000 or so that has a basement. It's our between our soil and floodplain. We don't. That's not a thing here.
Yeah, if we had a basement in Florida, it would be called an aquarium.
Yeah.
Because like you said, our aquifer is so high, we wouldn't really be able to dig down very much. But really the thought is like, what are some things that we've learned, even putting together, whether you're building like a brand new home with a dedicated theater room, or even in a living room setup, but what are some things, some advice, some tips, some best advice that you and I can share with the folks watching if they're building out their home theater? Like, what are some things that we've learned, and it might even be things that if I were to get the opportunity to buy another house and to kind of start over, what would I do differently? Like what advice could I give? And so I just wrote down a few things, probably about 5 or 6 different thoughts. And in the chat, let me know, what is your tips? So I'll just start with mine while you're still starting those. So number one is use conduit for your in-wall runs. And what I mean by that is conduit is typically it can be a PVC pipe. It can be, some people call it Smurf tube. So it's basically just a plastic tube that's pretty large in diameter. You don't want to use too small because your cables could get stuck in there, especially when they're rounding like a 90-degree. But looking back, I absolutely wish I would have. I knew I needed to, but I was too cheap. And for some reason, I'm just like, I don't need it. I know you should do it. The problem is right now, if I want to, I have a Rui Pro HDMI cable that they sent me. And so instead of climbing in my attic, running it, and then finding out it doesn't work, it literally it's connected from the back of my projector. It comes out that hole in my wall, drops down. So in all my videos right now, you see this wire hanging up, just vertical behind me. That's that cable. And so it works fine. It works great. So now I need to run it through the attic, but it's a pain in the butt to get up in there. But if I would have installed Smurf tube or a conduit, then I could have easily just tied a pull string to it or use the existing one and just pull it right through and slide the other one along with it. So to me, that's a big one. I don't think you necessarily need to do it for all your speaker wires, but I would at least do it for your HDMI cable. Rusty, did you have the opportunity to do that in yours?
No, our house was pre-built and there was only one line that was run with Smurf tubing, and it was the line for the HDMI cable. And that was the only one that wasn't a pain to come in later and try to fix. Cause when the roof, where the roof intersects the outside the exterior wall, it is so difficult to get wires down there. And I don't know how many times I got poked in the head with roof nails. You're crawling around there in pink fluffy and dust, and it's nasty. The less time you can spend doing that, the better. So 1,000,000% agree on the Smurf tubing, or sometimes it will be called like convoluted tubing. You can get it at Home Depot. It's not free, but it is worth its weight in gold. And I say, get the biggest. Well, if you're doing a run to a single speaker, like, and maybe if you're running to your Atmos speakers, maybe you don't have to worry about it as much. Now, anything going down a wall, though, if you're going down a wall, use it and use a lot of it, because you will be happy. And use bigger size than you think you need. If you think you need 3/4, do 1.5 inches. You'll be happy later. And you may not use it, but better to have it there and not need it. And I'll add to that, pre-wire everything. Like, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, but just kind of playing off.
No, that's on one of mine. Yep. What do you mean by pre-wire for everything?
You
What's some
know,
examples of that?
I would, so like, here's an example. When I did mine, I didn't know if I wanted, I set it, so I'm limited to 16 channels with
Mhm.
my processor. And I didn't know if I wanted to use those. I had 2 available because I was like, I'm definitely going to do 7 channels bass later.
Mhm.
And I'm definitely going to do 4 channels, at least 4 channels at most.
Mhm.
And then I had, I guess it's 3 sub channels. So I had 1 left over, or sorry, 2 left over. It said I can either do front wides
Mhm.
or I can do top middles or middle tops. Yeah, top middles.
Yeah.
And 6 Atmos speakers. And I didn't want to have to redo the wiring. So I just ran extra wires and left them loose, kind of tied them to a rafter in the attic so they'd be easy to find later.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And if you think that you're going to wire for 514,
Mhm. Yep.
wire for 914
Yeah.
or 916,
Yep.
because really wire is cheap.
Yes.
And if you're not gonna wire it do the tubing, do the Smurf tubing,
Mhm.
and then you can add wire later. But
Yeah.
yes,
I think
that is a
it'd be
huge one.
cheaper to put the wires up there than it would be to run Smurf tubing through all of it.
That's true.
I mean, especially if you're just talking like 14 gauge wire, speaker wire. I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
like not much at all. Yeah, I put plan for upgrades, run speaker wire for a 9.1.6, even though you think you're only going to go with maybe a 7.1.4. So 100% agree with that as well. And it's, things like HDMI cables. I mean, you have to just run an HDMI cable. Now, what some people have done, I didn't think I needed it in mine, and I still don't necessarily, well, I guess I could, like an Ethernet cable. So some people run an Ethernet cable to like the projector or to the room. Um, so that, and again, that's not
Well, and
expensive.
there's another reason to do the Smurf tubing, at least in the walls, because if you have decent attic access, as long as you can go from like the box where it comes out of the wall down low to get into the attic, and then you can stop the tubing there. If you want to save a little bit on tubing, you can certainly do that. But hey, there's a lot of, we're talking, one of our seminars is about digital.
Yeah, sure.
Where everything will be potentially in the future. Everything, well, I shouldn't say everything. One of the options is
Sure.
to do digital. You have Cat 5 cable or Cat 6 or whatever cable run to each of the speakers, and it's all digital signal up to the speaker. And it's really interesting. I'm interested to learn more about it because I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, I interviewed Anthony Gramani at CEDIA this past year in 2023, and that was the first time I'd ever even heard of it. And so everything was run from the processor to the speakers with Ethernet, and then and then he's got powered speakers. So it's like, and all the active crossover. So it definitely makes it more complex, but I think it gives you a lot more flexibility on that. So,
but there's another reason that maybe that speaker wire gets swapped out for Ethernet cable down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, some of these guys are sharing even some of theirs. Kay says also have a backup cable if the wire goes bad during construction. So technically, yeah, if somebody's doing a construction run, they could put a nail right through your speaker wire. And and I'm sure there's probably ways that you can kind of protect them. Maybe another good reason to use some tubing as well. Yeah.
I'm so catching up on
I thought this was kind of funny. Richard says, I keep telling people to use a garden hose. It's a lot cheaper than conduit. My only concern with a garden hose is I don't think you're going to find like a 1-inch garden hose. That'd be pretty massive. And I'm afraid that if you use a small garden hose, I mean, you're only going to be able to fit one like cable through there. So for example, I've got 2 HDMI cables running through my attic. One is for the PS5, and then one is for like my processor, basically. So they come into the MadVR, but MadVR can't do like 120 refresh rate. There's too much latency, I guess. So I basically have to bypass that. So basically when I'm watching or when I'm playing my PS5, I have to switch the input on my projector, which basically is bypassing the MAD
Yeah.
So garden hose would be hard to fit that through, I think.
And I haven't thought of it, so I don't know. Maybe it would work. I would be a little concerned about that rubber tends to be a little more grabby. Like, so when you're trying to feed wires through, it may not flow as smooth, but you could probably put some baby powder or something in there to help it work, feed through. I want to share a tip that somebody taught me, or I think I learned it on a video. It had nothing to do with home theater. It was more like home improvement.
Okay.
Best tip ever. And if you have like convex tubing or any kind of tubing and you lost your pull string, you know, you're supposed to leave a string in there so you can get to it later and pull your cable through gently.
Yeah.
If you lose your pull string, you take like a wad of cloth, you know, just a handful, tie your string to that, make it like fluffy, like a bow, right? And then you just tie it in there and shove it in one end of your tubing. And then on the other end, just get a shop vac and turn it on and suck it through. It pulls that line right through there in like just seconds.
Right.
Works beautifully. Simple trick. I wish I had known that sooner in life because I've done it the hard way before, but works beautifully.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I have a video on my channel. For a long time, I had a HDMI cable, kind of the same thing. Monoprice sent me some new cables, and I wanted to make sure that they were, you know, working good, didn't have any issues. Probably a year later, I still hadn't run through the attic. And part of that is because I have to go into my daughter's bedroom. I have to take all of her clothes out, move the wire shelf, put a straight ladder in there, climb up, go all the way to the, you know, do the theater room, and then come back and undo that process. I do have attic access from in my garage, but there's a solid wall up there, so I can't get to the rest of the house. It's literally just over the garage is all I have access to. So it's not really convenient to be able to do that. And so that was a big challenge for me is, you know, but where I'm going with that is a friend of mine, he said, you know, I can show you how to do that. And we don't have to even climb in your attic. I'm like, really? And he did his little Boy Scout kind of knot so that they don't, you know, it's interesting. So
I use that actually because that was one of those things, like you're always taught, or you should have been taught, you never like pull on you don't want to put too much pressure on the end of the cable, the connection to the wire, but you also don't want to like yank on just the wire too. And so your little trick or your friend's trick where you kind of ran it over a length of the wire. And so it distributes that load. Works like a charm, super easy. I have to reference it occasionally because I can't remember.
I need to go back and do it because I need to run that other cable. So
works great.
The reason why I haven't done that is I was running a single cable, but now I need to run 2 cables. And the thing I'm afraid of is I'm going to pull it through, and I know it's not going to make like the 90 going through the wood. I guess, I don't know if it's called a header up there. There's like a piece of wood that I had to drill through. I don't think I drilled a big enough hole for 2 cables.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling I'm going to have to pull it out, drill through, and then I may end up doing a conduit.
Yeah. Well, something you might get away with, because I had a similar problem. And if you do your string trick, but on the HDMI cable, stagger them. If I'm doing this,
that makes sense.
Stagger it to where the bulky part is end to end, and then tape them to where it's got like a little bit of an arrow taper, you know. And if it's tapered, you might get away with it, but you have to be gentle with those cables. You do not want to be.
I know the last time just getting the one up there, I thought I was going to have to go in the attic, and I just he was in there. I'm like, pull, all right, push. And so we were kind of doing this number in 2 different rooms, and then it finally, it
broke loose,
missed the lip and went down. I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I was ready to go back up there. Here's another one. I have to think what I'm saying.
Did you forget your own note?
Okay. So I didn't say what wide enough. I just wrote, make it wide enough so that you don't have to mount your speakers high. So in my room, I didn't have the luxury of designing how wide my room was. I originally, on a floor plan, we had some plans drawn up. We were going to build from scratch, and that room was going to be 15 feet wide, 25 feet deep. We ended up buying a house instead of building. So the house was under construction, but we didn't design it. So this room, or this house, had a 13 by 19 quote media room on the floor plan. And we're like, something's better than nothing. We'll make it work. The problem with 13 feet wide, if you want to do, if you had 2 theater seats, that'd be fine. But I have 3 theater seats because I have 6 in our family, 4 kids and me and my wife. And I knew I wanted to have 6 seats, or we don't need to make a theater room. Even if most of the time it's me in there or me and Jessica, I still want to be able to accommodate my whole family.
Same thing.
And so to be able to put 3 seats across, like actual theater seats, I mean, you can probably get away with the movie theater seats that are really, really narrow, but an actual reclining kind of theater seats, that takes up a lot of that room. So I have a couple feet, probably 2.5 feet on one side and same thing on the other. But because of that, I don't have a big pathway coming into my room. And I knew if I mounted the speaker, the surrounds, the side surrounds, where I wanted them and where Dolby wanted them, which is like a foot above your listening position, somebody's going to face plant that joker when they walk in my room. Or I'm going to be coming in there in the middle of the night and smack it, and then I'm going to get mad. Not going to be good. So I mounted mine a little bit higher than I wanted to. And now, fortunately, I've got some speakers that are angled down, which even helps.
I was going to ask. Yeah, I think, are all of yours slanted down?
Yep.
Do you feel like that's do you feel like it's a big compromise? Or do you feel like it's...
Where I'm going with that is for the longest time, though, I had regular speakers like bookshelves, and they were firing straight. So that it was still a good experience, but I really wish those were angled down. I just didn't do that. But with the JTR 110 HTs, the slants, they've got a 45-degree angle. So they're right down on my listening position, which I love.
Yeah. And I would even say, even if they're not slanted speakers or you can't angle them, it is nice to have them just a little bit high.
Yeah.
Like, I know the specs say you want it exactly tweeter, at ear level. A lot of times that's what they'll recommend. Actually, I think Dolby spec gives you some room. They give you kind of a tolerance zone.
Correct.
But I like it just a little bit high. And just think of it as, if somebody's sitting in the chair next to you, is their head blocking your sound? So if you can go up just a little bit and get a clear shot, I think that's nice. Yeah. It's not a deal breaker, but it's better.
Yeah. Ideally, Dolby recommends that you put them at ear level. And that, because what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to put a good amount of distance between your bed layer and your overhead speakers. But the problem with that is exactly what you're saying, Rusty, is that if you have, let's say, 3 people, and if you ended up putting those, let's just say at 90 degrees or even at 110 degrees, which is their recommendation, you're either going to hit the back of your seat, or unless you got those low backs, or if they're directly 90 degrees out to your left and right, it's going to hit the end people and you're going to be missing out. So I'm with Rusty. I like having them like a 1 foot above.
Yeah.
Mine are a little bit higher than that. Mine are probably 2 feet above, but like I said, they're angled down. So they hit exactly where I want them to.
Yeah. And I can never actually find the stinking PDF there it is right in front of me. I don't like TV only. That didn't do me any good. I'll try to find it. I think they give you a little room for error, but even if they don't, you can do whatever you want to do.
No, make it your room. Another one I had was start with acoustics first. It can save you money on spending more. It can save you on spending more money on, man, I cannot say that right. It can save you money on spending more on gear. Not really a great sentence, but you get the idea. Start with your treatment. So many times I've seen people in this hobby, they'll say things like, man, I don't really like the way my center channel sounds. It's kind of muffled. And so they buy a bigger center channel or a better center channel, and they spend more money. And I'm like, man, I don't know, for some reason, it just still is not really that great. Well, part of the problem is the acoustics in the room. You've got so much echo that no matter what type of speakers you put in there, it's not going to sound that great. So start by treating the room, taming some of those reflections, and getting the room that sounds the best, and then begin to implement your system. What's that?
How would you, for the people that they're completely new, they're building a new room and they've heard it, okay, we got to do acoustic treatments, and they go to a website and there's all these different panels. So what do they do? Like, how would you advise them to get started when they don't even own a pair of speakers yet?
Yeah.
So suppose they're still in their design phase.
Sure. So the first thing I would recommend doing is exactly what I ended up doing. Somebody recommended it to me. They said, Michael, go sit in your primary listening position. So in my room, I've got 6 chairs. So it's the front and middle seat. That's where I like to be. And they said, just sit down in it or stand or whatever, but just clap one time pretty loud and just listen. What do you hear?
Mm-hmm.
Rusty, I was shocked because I'd never done that.
Sounds
when
like
I
you're
did
in a
that,
public restroom or something.
This thing, here's what I heard. No lie. It sounded just like this. Boing, oing, 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 oing. And I went, that can't be good, you know? And I'm thinking, so I did some research, and what I found out is whenever you have direct sound coming from a source, let's just say 2 speakers, and that source hits your ears, if you also have reflected sound that hits your ears even a fraction of a second later, your brain is almost like confused. And that's where I call it unintelligibility. You hear the vocals, maybe somebody's singing or maybe somebody's talking, and your brain goes, what did they just say?
Mm-hmm.
Like, your brain is confused because they're hearing this sound and then this reflected sound, and the brain doesn't know which one it's supposed to interpret, I guess, or process. And so ideally what I started with is I found out there's this thing called a first reflection point. And the simplest explanation of that is a speaker's aimed at your head. That sound is going to hit your ears straight on. That's direct. But then you've got a reflected sound, and that sound is going to hit the wall that it's closest to. It's going to reflect, and then it's going to come to your ear. So the way you find out where that is, because you want to stop that reflection, or some people choose to use so I use an absorption there, but some people want to put a diffusion there and just kind of scatter that sound. You can do that too. I just didn't prefer it in my room. So I put an absorption panel there, like I think it's like 2 inches or maybe 4 inches thick. I can't remember. But it's pretty thick. So it'll stop the mid-range and the high frequencies. So the easiest way to do that, literally, you get a small mirror, put it on the wall, and you have a seat like in your primary listening position, and you have somebody like Rusty, your friend or your wife or your kid, just put the mirror on the wall and just start moving it forward on the wall and backwards until from your listening position, you can see, like, let's say your front right speaker. And as soon as you can see it in that mirror, that's where you need to place that reflection or place that acoustic panel to stop that sound, because the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. Learned that in, I don't know, algebra or trigonometry or geometry. I don't know, probably geometry way back in the day. It's kind of like pool. Hit a ball, it's going to bounce the same angle that it hit the wall. Same thing with sound. So you do that on the right side, do it on the left side. So that's where I started. And truth be told, and I shared this in my video, I am not an acoustician, if that's the right term. I didn't do it scientifically. I didn't take any measurements. I just knew I had a nasty echo, and I got enough panels. I got some DIY panels from a neighbor. I think he sold me like 11 of them for $11 a piece. So cheap, dude. But they were great. And so I hung them up, and the rest, after the first reflection point, I just put them aesthetically. So there's about 2 feet in between them, and I just staggered them around the room, and it helped tremendously. It really, really tamed that slap echo that I was having. Cool. So I appreciate this. SRW 1000 says it's always best to absorb. The first reflection point, asked Matthew Pose about that. The reality is did I put that up? There we go. The reality is I've heard so many different things, and these are guys that know what they're talking about. And some will recommend doing a diffusion for that first one. I just didn't like the way it sounded. I don't even know how to describe it, but I was so used to having my DIY ones when I installed the GIKs, and they're more of a what they call a combo panel. They have diffusion as well as absorption. And I'm like, man, something just sounds weird. And all I did was unscrewed those panels. And so now they're just absorption. I went, there we go. That's what I want. So to me, that's what I prefer. But yeah. Youthman math teacher. I don't know about that, man.
What's the so first reflection point is always an important one.
Yeah.
What do you think is second most important? Maybe the back wall?
So my understanding, a lot of people put diffusion back there on the back wall. I didn't. Mine are kind of, they're not a true diffusion. It's more of a combo pattern. I would still go sides before I did the back wall, to me. Because until you tame that, if you got a massive echo, if you put 2 panels in there, it's not going to tame that echo. You're still going to have a nasty echo. So to me, tame the echo, and then definitely the back wall, because that's going to be a hard surface. Your speakers, especially your center channel, it's going to hit that back wall, and guess what? It's coming right back to the front, and it's going to muddy that sound. So you don't want to do that. So a lot of guys will take that and diffuse it. So like these diffusion panels, and it kind of scatters that sound around the room. So,
well, a good example of what you were talking about earlier is when I was trying to pull StreamYard up in a different tab, and it started echoing because it was playing, but it's slightly delayed.
Yeah.
And it's that just a fraction of a millisecond delay screws your brain up. And that's what's happening when you're getting that reflection. And so a lot of times people go like, man, it's not, I'm the same way. It's not fun and it's not sexy to spend money on acoustic panels. Like you don't get the same like guy satisfaction that you get out of buying an electronics piece of gear. But I use that as one example, that when you're on a phone call and you get that little delay and your brain can't compute it. The other one is, this one's a little funny, but you've been on the phone with somebody, right? You've been on a long call, and then you notice that all of a sudden their voice changes and sounds kind of funny. And it's like, hey bro, you in the bathroom? Because something doesn't sound right. And it's all those hard surfaces they're so echoey, and it ruined, like you can tell, like you think at home, you think that it's not an issue, but like once you hear it, know, and then you hear it all the time. So that slap echo you're talking about. Yeah. So just think, if you're going to watch your favorite movie in your bathroom, not a good time.
No, it's just, so when I was a student pastor, so the church outgrew the worship center. And so they built this big, like 1,500 seat auditorium. So a lot of times when churches do that, the youth ministry gets, the old church basically. So we had the old church building, and it could hold a couple hundred people. And, you got a big stage, you got solid walls, but I mean, we're talking no acoustic treatment. It was horrendous. So I bought these big JBL speakers and 4 18-inch subwoofers. We're rocking out in there. But when I would teach and when I would preach, I know it was difficult for them to understand sometimes, but the hardest thing is when I would ask a question and then one of my students would say a response, a lot of times I'd be like, what'd you say? Can you repeat that? And I thought it was because I was going deaf. No, it's because the room acoustics was horrible. And so we built some 4x8 foot, like big panels, because we had really big walls. I think the room was like 50 foot long. So it's a big room. So we had a bunch of these acoustic panels. And even then, man, we still needed a lot more. I think we built 8 4 foot by 8 foot panels.
Yeah. And I think if you want to really dial it in, it requires a lot of, well, probably experience from somebody, an acoustician. It's probably going to require different panels and different locations and different types. But I will say that you can get, like, I'm sure somebody will disagree with me, but I think that the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, you can get an 80% improvement for 20% of the total cost just by putting some absorption panels up. Because even the home built 2-inch absorption panels can go a long way. And yes, I know you can go way too overboard with those, and then you over absorb, and yes, you do need diffusion. But I'm saying if you're getting into it and you just don't believe that it's going to matter that much, and you're trying to, like, convince yourself it's, quote, worth it, start with, there's nothing, it's just fabric stapled over, what is that, Corning?
Owens Corning
702,
something like that.
I think
703 Owens Corning.
I know I've seen this a million times, and now I can't think.
Some people use pink fluffy. I mean, there's a lot of different fabrics.
But I mean, that's really all it is. And I guess maybe like a thick cardboard backing, or not cardboard, but that, like, it's like thin plywood.
You can even use like on mine, the DIY ones that I had, they had fabric on the front, but then they also had fabric on the back, so it kind of sandwiched the.
Oh yeah. You don't even need a backing. You can just make a frame out of 1x2s. Yeah.
Well, again, you still have to have something back there, so they just use fabric on the back side, because when you take it off the wall, you don't want the.
I was talking about for the perimeter, make a picture frame out of 1x2s, and
that's all it is.
But for a minimal amount of dollars, I think you can get a pretty substantial 100%. Improvement. So, and then, then you decide if you like it or if it was worth it to you, and you'll probably want to start investing in nicer, more advanced stuff.
Or something a little bit more decorative. So like the things like GIK, there's definitely several other companies out there. They make some cool looking ones, so you can kind of make it more aesthetically pleasing,
less of an eyesore. Mine's not pretty. It's functional, but I did what you did. I bought a whole bunch of them off of a local friend. He needed it. I think he was just trying to make space.
That's
and funny. He said, I've got stuff for sale, and I think I got a dozen of them for a couple $100 or something. I don't remember. And I did basically the same thing you did. I just started putting them up and playing with different places.
I think something's better than nothing. Put it that way.
I'll tell you another little pro tip, man. I wish I had a link to share, but use instead of, so a lot of times they want to use wire. They'll tell you to use wire, and you have to hang it like a picture frame. That is the worst. It is impossible. One, it's kind of a pain to hook it, but that's not terrible. It's very difficult to get them all set at the same level.
100%.
So you can buy this stuff. Man, I need to find this link, because
I'm gonna send it to you right now. I know exactly what
you're talking about. It's called Z-Bar. Is that what you were talking about?
I'll show you what I used. It is not Z-Bar.
So this is called Z-Bar, and it looks like a Z. It's just a little zigzag. And if you're familiar with a French cleat, it's basically the same thing as a French cleat. It's just really thin sheet metal that functions like a French cleat. And the added benefit of, one, it's so much easier to position, and they're so much easier to hang, but it automatically keeps them level. So you don't have to worry about them getting twisted. But you can also, it gives you a little adjustment room. So if you're not, like, you had to hit a stud and you're not right where you want to be, you can just slide the whole panel left or right and not expose the bracket. This is another one of those things that I don't know how I became 40 years old. And I'm just, when I learned of this trick, it's like, that's a lifesaver.
That's like literally the whole purpose of tonight's conversation. One thing that we want to do on the channel and on the podcast is to provide resources that can either save you time, money, energy, doing the research. It's like, if we can help you out and take some of the guesswork and take some of the figuring it out, you know,
absolutely.
that's where I think that we can help provide value to you. So Rusty, it's interesting that you mentioned this is the site that I used. So it's called ATS Acoustics. I think you guys can see it.
Yeah. Can you make your screen more narrow, kind of like the size of the
Does that
content?
help?
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Okay, I'm just zooming in. So this is the ones that I used right here, professional installation kit. And I'll come back to yours. So these are what they call Z clips. So they basically, there's one that's one way and one that's other way, and they kind of clamp together. And you can see they give you the drywall anchors, the screws, and then there's literally 2 screw holes. And so on the back of you take one of those clips and you mount it to your wall. You take the other 2 clips and mount it to your acoustic panel, and they literally slide in. The only thing you got to do is just be real careful, because these are sharp pieces of aluminum, and so they'll dig into your drywall if you're not real careful. And you can see a little picture here of on the back, they're secured on those panels. So that's what I use. But what's interesting is you mentioned this right here, a Z-bar. They actually sell Z-bars.
So how much are theirs? I can't read the.
So these are $10.63. I'm assuming just for, is that 2?
Is that just a set, like one?
I think so.
See,
So
and
item
read.
description. Let's look here. It says, yeah, 2 mounting points for hanging your acoustic panels. This is suitable for installing 24 by 24 acoustic panels, 124 by 48, or custom size. So the ones that I used, they give you a bunch of these things. So this is 12 mounting points. So I think one set of these will hold 6, because you basically need 4 per panel. You need 2 on the panel itself and 2 mounted to the wall. So
can I share my screen?
Yep.
Because we're talking about the same thing. This is just another source people might like.
Chat. So chat, I'll drop this in the I'll drop this website in the chat here. And then Rusty, share yours.
Yeah, if I can get it.
Let's take a look.
Get it to show. Come on. I think the confirmation button's like off screen. There we go. All right, is that showing now?
Acoustic Mac. Okay.
So what I liked about this company, they sell a lot of stuff. The only thing I've actually bought from them so far, and I honor the source. I got this from a local guy, Daryl.
Okay.
That told me about it.
Nice.
So I really like these. You can buy them at Home Depot, but you pay like 4 times as much.
Sure.
And you can get these 12-inch Z bars. And if your panel is like 2 foot wide,
just put it right in the center.
Put it right in the center, and then you have a little room where it can hang off one way or the other. Now, if you really want to go crazy, you could do 2 of these or space them.
Sure. But the panels are so light, it's not like you're.
Yeah, it's not a strength issue, but it's fantastic. So you get 4 for $8, so $2 a piece. I looked at them at Home Depot, and it was like, I think $10 a piece.
So yeah, but go back to that picture. What are you securing into the wall?
I use that also.
Okay.
So I put 1 Z bar on the wall and 1 Z bar on the panel.
So how many screws did you put in how many holes did you put in your
2 or 3 out of the, I think 2. I think I did the ends and then 1 in the middle for good measure.
Okay.
Just to hold it flat.
You got 1 less than I do, so I guess that's not bad.
The weight is not an issue. But then there's also these that are more cost effective. You get a whole grab bag.
That literally that's what I have. So click on that.
And so then this, you would put like 1 on each corner, or exactly 1 on each side.
So what do they give you? 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 for $3.
So you pay $3 for, because you'll need 4 clips per one, because you put 2 on the wall and 2 on the actual corners of the panel.
But they shipped them quickly, and good company. And then they have like these impaler type.
Okay.
It sounds scary. It's not that bad.
Impaler, Z impaler.
So Acoustimac is that site, and just look under their installation hardware.
Yeah.
I guess I can post that.
Nice. Well, definitely. So that's acoustimac.com. Drop that in the chat.
But man, if you have to take panels down, or you're taking them up and down because you're rearranging things or do whatever,
super simple.
Easy.
You lift up, put them aside, lay them back on.
I will never use piano wire ever again.
Well, to me, the bigger thing with piano wire is I don't think there's even remotely a good way of making sure they're the same height.
No.
Like, that's going to be the hardest part. And of course, you get enough bass in the room, they're always going to be cockeyed and crooked. But I think the height, it would drive me nuts not having them all identical. So yeah, Acoustimac. So good resource, man. Appreciate it. And the only last one I've got here is get a larger cabinet than what you think you need. So going back again to my experience, I thought I had made enough cabinet space at the bottom, but I never dreamed I'd have outdoor speakers. There's one of those cabinets that have outdoor equipment. So there's 4 amplifiers as well as a streamer. So that took up a spot. Never thought I'd have like a MAVE. I really didn't even think I'd have separates. I always thought I'd just have an AVR. Well, now that I went with separates, the big old honking 11-channel amplifier takes up one whole spot on the left. So over time, you end up buying more gear and then what you initially think that you need or want. And so if you're thinking, I'm buying I don't even know what they come, the racks, like a 7U or an 8U or 10U or whatever, buy a big one. Even if you got a bunch of blank stuff. That's just my opinion, unless it's just crazy cost prohibitive and you're just like, man, I just can't afford that. Buy a bigger one, because eventually you're going to fill that joker up, I would imagine, down the road.
Well, and what I've seen, it's been a little while, because I completely agree with you, because it sounds like we've both suffered some of the same pains.
Yes, that's what happens, man.
And pain is a great teacher. So now this one I did right on the front end and bought the biggest rack that would fit in my space. And I think it may have been just the biggest rack they offered, a 42U. And I thought, 42U, it gives me plenty of room for growth.
Yeah.
It is amazing how quickly you can fill up a 42U. And part of it, I know I could go back and re-rack, and because I left, 1U between a lot of devices like amplifiers. I don't like to put amplifiers touching. I know that you probably can, but if you can give them a little breathing room, it's a good idea to give them and put like an AC Infinity on top of it. And it may be a little overkill, but I prefer, look, everything I've done is overkill. So why stop there?
Right.
But when you start leaving a U blank space in between devices, and you start stacking up devices and you add shelves, like, it is amazing how quickly you will fill up rack space. So yeah, definitely go bigger, go as big as you can possibly go. You won't regret having too much rack space.
You will regret if you don't, like if you run out of space, because guess what? You got to sell that one, buy a bigger one, take all your components out, redo the whole, so there's just a lot of work there. So sometimes it's worth saving up, paying a little bit extra, having more than you need currently, so that down the road you don't have to undo.
And if you look at a good place that actually gives you prices online is Middle Atlantic, and they show you the pricing of everything. If I recall correctly, it's kind of like, the upsizing at the drive-through. We went the other night, our Friday night treat. We go to Jeremiah's Ice. That's like my ultimate weakness. If you've never been, you're missing out. Like, I just tell everybody, oh man, it's delicious. It's layers of Italian like gelato ice cream with like shaved ice, shaved, flavored ice, snow cone. And man, it's just amazing. And so And I completely forgot. So I'm going through the drive-through line. It's like, well, it's like, $4.30 for a medium. It's like, why don't you get a large for just an extra 70 cents? I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to do. That's a wise investment. I don't know if the same applies to racks, but I think it generally does, where you can upsize from, a 24U to a 42U, and it's not actually twice the price.
Yeah. And they're not cheap. I mean, I don't know how much you paid for yours. Life of Bliss did a video from a company called MWAVE Point, NAVE Point, and he said those are affordable. They're still not cheap. I'm looking on their website, so they're about $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, $1,400, and these are all 42U racks. And I'm sure you can buy a more expensive one. You can buy maybe some less expensive ones. So it's still going to cost you some money, but
see, also I've bought now these are IT rack server racks.
Yeah.
And they're a lot of times they're deeper.
Okay.
But sometimes you can get one with an adjustable depth. And there's some really simple ones that just work really well. I'll actually show you one real quick.
I think somebody mentioned on one of the podcasts, sometimes you can find those things for dirt cheap, like companies that are selling them that don't need them anymore. And
I think it was
on the used market.
But if you use server racks, if you can fit it in your space,
so maybe just search on like Facebook Marketplace server rack, see if you can find one local. Maybe
a lot of times they're getting rid of them. They just want them gone.
Kind of like filing cabinets. You can't sell those things. Nobody wants a big filing cabinet.
Nobody wants old couches either, for whatever reason. I can never get rid of old couches for any reasonable amount of money.
That's funny.
I guess there's just too much funk.
While you're doing that, speaking of that, I saw a thing, I think it was on Facebook, and they showed this couch and it had a stain, like a brown stain. It's like, I can't sell this to anybody.
Don't know what the problem is.
I
swear it's just coffee.
That's right.
All right, let's see. I'm not a smooth producer of this thing.
You're good.
I'm getting there though. Okay. This is one I've used for server stuff a few times. All right. This is the 25U for $277. Oh, come on. Here we go. I bought this in a couple variations. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. 25U is $277. For an extra $20, you can get a 42U. Now
that just seems like the frame.
This is a 4-post, and it's a frame, and you can adjust the height of it. It's not fancy, but it does everything it needs to do.
Doesn't have a glass door.
No, it's just an open frame. So look, sky is the limit when you start adding features. But if you're looking to, like, if you're just going to put this in your, like, you have a lot of your gear in your bedroom closet, or some gear in your daughter's closet, or maybe it's just your projector.
It's literally just in between the two closets.
But if you can put it in a separate area and you have a little more room, man, you can use these cheap racks, and these collapse down so that you don't have to use the full depth. And it can actually be nice if you have the space, because you can actually rack on both sides. So you kind of get the benefit of two racks if you're using shallower equipment.
Now, where would you find shelving for that?
They sell it. Yeah, you can get shelving. That's where it starts to really add up. Accessories. I think StarTech makes shelves. You can get rails. Yeah.
So then, if you're already spending $300 on there, I mean, you may be spending $1,000 by the time you get done with it.
Well, I can say that I didn't pay this, but what I was originally quoted for my rack and shelves. Now, mine's a little special because it had to be. It's a pull out, so it's on rails, and it's detachable rails, like train track rails.
Mm-hmm.
It's and then it's got like a cable management thing where it has like a I don't even know, a cable tray, I guess I should
Right.
say. And it was gonna, like, I was quoted like $3,300 for all of that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
impressive.
that's pretty steep for, especially for what it is.
Sure.
Um,
Anyway, so hopefully that'll save you guys some money. There's at least there's options, whether you buy used, buy them on eBay, buy them on Amazon, get some cheap server racks, but definitely buy more than what you think you're going to need. I think it's definitely beneficial to do that.
Yeah, you're gonna want growing room, especially if you're just getting into this. You don't really know what you want until, I guess, until you go to Jonathan's house.
Yeah.
And then you come up with a new list of things you want.
Well, think about it. If you start adding things like butt kickers, transducers, now you got more amplifiers. So again, just down the road, you're thinking, right now you may not have the need for that, but you're going to add to it. So, well, man, let's jump through some of these questions and comments.
Well, I had a couple things I wanted to
hit it.
Say. Number one thing I would say.
Oh, I didn't even get to yours. My bad.
I know. Well, I just kind of, I'm going to steal most of yours because you did great. Number one thing, go to other home theaters.
Yeah, for sure.
Because until you have and I don't mean commercial theaters, and I would even say more like showrooms are okay, right? Some are better than others.
Sure.
Sometimes they're set up well, sometimes they're not, but it's good. Go to every showroom you can, but if you can especially go to some different home theaters in your area, find a local meetup group, go to MWAVE.
Yeah.
Hey, there's an idea.
Yeah.
Experience it for yourself, because
Sure.
I found that a lot of those questions that you're struggling with, like, should I do this or that, become obvious whenever you see it for yourself, experience it for yourself. A lot of it's just like test driving a car. Once you go on a test drive, it tells you a lot.
Yeah.
So that would be actually my number one thing. And then I think my number two would be kind of what you were saying. The more space you have, the better. And I don't mean more space for being luxury or grandiose and having, I'm not saying you need 20 theater seats. What I'm saying is some of the best experiences I've had were in rooms that were maybe, I'd say probably 20 to 22 feet wide and 25 to 30 feet deep, somewhere in that range. And that's a pretty big space, but that's still like, that's a great 6-seater or maybe 8-seater theater. If you adjust accordingly depending on the number of seats. That's what it all starts with. You got to figure out your number of seats.
Sure.
But just something about having a little more space and separation and distance from the speakers can make a big difference. We get a good comment.
Ollie said, pretty big. He's like, that's a big room, man.
Well,
I
say pretty big because it feels, it seems big until you start putting home theater recliners in it.
Yeah.
When you put a 150-inch screen, when you put in acoustic, like it fills up really quick.
It does, but the reality is, especially if you're doing construction, it's a lot of money to build a room that big.
Oh, I know.
That's the big
thing.
Well,
mine is 14 and a half by 18 or 14 by 18 and a half. And it's a nice space.
Yeah.
But I made it work with zero margin. Like there's, it's just everything is fit in there so tight that you have no room to work on it. And it's not really, I don't have the right feng shui. So that if you can, man, that's such a luxury to be able to have a little extra space.
Sure.
That's all.
I wish my room was bigger, but again, you do the best with what you have.
So, Michael, I starred a bunch of things that aren't really questions.
That's
Mostly,
okay.
there's a lot of
That's totally fine.
comments
Yeah.
that you can fire
Yeah.
through quick.
Sure. Richard says, I wonder if he enjoyed the cruise. I did, man. It's always good. We try to do one vacation a year with our kids. Doesn't have to be expensive. This was a 3-day cruise. But we really loved it. Had my grandson on that trip. Starlight, are you considering the AV10? Okay, so that was somebody else's comment. Chris says, looking forward to seeing a number of friendly faces next week. The cool thing about MWAVE is we've got a lot of return people, and then we've got a lot of new people. And so one thing that's interesting is that you do look forward to the friendships that you made the previous years. Rusty's been an OG, man.
Mm-hmm.
You came in year 2022, 2023, now 2024, helping run the event, which
Do I
is
get
great.
a special like star on my badge or something this
Yeah,
year?
something, man. You gotta do something.
Like a glitter star.
Yeah, we'll hook you up, man. Get you a hat or something. I don't know. But Rusty is doing a great job. He's coordinating the event, so a lot of the logistics at the event, he'll be handling that. So that's been super helpful.
I'm just the spreadsheet guy.
Doesn't matter, man. It helps me out for sure. Living it with Scott and Cat podcast. Let's party. Just got back from Slamology. I saw some of your videos and photos. So Slamology is like a car event. And so, I mean, they're pushing 160 plus dB, just going nuts. He said it was wild. 164 dB demos. Makes me think of upgrading his theater. Scott's hitting, I think, 154 in his room, which is insane. Tarhoya, the video was awesome.
He was talking about your Western video.
Oh, okay.
But wait, Bob, because in the chat, Scott had talked a little more about how his limiting factor now is service to his home, like amp service. He only has 200 amps, and that's the limiting
he's
factor.
Running out of juice. Yeah.
That one blows my mind.
Yeah. So Callie says, we need MWAVE in Canada. Man, I'll be honest with you. That's probably one of the single most common responses I get. Can you bring MWAVE to us? I promise you guys, it is a billion times easier for you to hop on a plane, a train, a car, and come to MWAVE than it is for us to pack up that whole event and move it to your city. I mean, it is.
I think we should turn this around and say, if we can pre-sell, what do you think? 5,000 tickets, then we will bring it to Canada.
Yeah.
But we got to pre-sell it ahead of time.
It's man, this is a year-long event. It consumes me especially as we get closer. I mean, it's every single day I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So all day tomorrow, pretty much, I'll be working on registration.
Me too. Right along there with you.
Rusty and I will be doing spreadsheets and designing and having those printed because we got to send those off. So actually, let me throw this out there. I sent this email out today. I made a post on it. If you're considering coming to MWAVE and you're like on the fence, we'd love to have you join us June 21st through the 23rd. You can get tickets here on the website, but we're ordering tickets tomorrow. And what I mean by that, not tickets, but badges. So if you want your name physically printed on the badge, you need to get your order in tonight. Because tomorrow, Rusty and I are sending those off to the printer. They're going to print those, ship them to me, and we're not ordering anymore. Now I'm going to order a bunch of blank ones. And so when you get there, we can write your name on them with a Sharpie or whatever. But if you want something legit, professional looking, you got to get that in. Go ahead and order today.
I was kidding. That was just an incentive to order them today.
Yeah, it works. So, and next year, honestly, we're going to do pre-sales, not pre-sales. We're going to do early registration. We're going to do probably, I don't know, normal registration, late registration. Give you some incentive. Because a lot of you jokers, man, y'all scare me. Here's the thing, man. So bunch of people ordered the first month. This was back in December. No, November. November is when we did it. Launched the sales. Bunch of people bought them. And then like crickets for months. Months and months. I'm like, oh crap. Are we going to have anybody at this show? And then like Rusty said, like all of you jokers are waiting to like, and I get it. I mean, you're waiting to make sure you don't have something better to do. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to come to MWAVE. So then like literally every day, man, we're getting just tickets after tickets after tickets. So, And that's cool. That's great. But next year, I'm going to give y'all some incentive to get them in a little bit early so we can better plan for you guys. SRW 1000, he says there's an AVS thread titled What I'd Do Differently Next Time. That's an awesome resource. Go check that out. Well worth the read to see what mistakes others have made that you don't want to repeat. Highly recommend. Love it.
It's probably the longest thread on the AVS.
Yeah, that's the hard thing about some of those threads, man. It's like, if you want to know about tactile transducers, good luck. Because there's about 6,000 pages of, people talking about it. Wendell says, Michael, have you ever considered going with an ultra short throw projector? No. A couple of reasons. Number one, I have reviewed probably about 7 ultra short throws on the channel. Nice looking projectors, but they're not the quality, number one, as like a standard Epson, JVC, Sony. They're just not. The other thing is, with an ultra short throw projector, you do not have the ability to zoom. So in my case, I have a 2.35:1 aspect ratio screen, and you're watching content that's 16:9 or 2.35:1. So you're not going to be able to fill that screen. With something like a Sony, Epson, JVC, they have lens memory, and they call them different things on them. But basically, you're able to use an electronic zoom and refocus and shift to be able to fill that screen. So there's a limitation there. Most ultra short throws, the max you're going to get, most of them are about 120 inch. My screen's 150. So most of them can't even fill that. So there's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't go with an ultra short throw. And then plus you got it right up in the front of your screen, or like in the front of your room. I'd rather not have it there. So not in my setup. I think it can be a good fit for some people, especially living rooms, but it's just not meant really for a dedicated theater to me.
And I don't know, I don't keep up with the pricing on ultra short throws, but TVs are getting bigger and cheaper every year.
Yep.
I mean, massively. And so whereas ultra short throws had a great, like, kind of in between, they were kind of the budget projector option, and they're nice. I don't want to like dog them. They fell into like a nice middle ground where it's like bigger than a TV, not as big as like a full projector, but also cost wise fell into the middle. Well, as TVs are getting bigger and less expensive, it kind of makes me feel like the place for ultra short throws is maybe dwindling. So it'll be interesting to see what it will be in the future. So,
and Rusty is totally correct. So with the ultra short throws, let's say the most expensive one's about $6,000. We've been seeing TVs from Hisense that are 100 inch for like $3,000, $4,000. Sometimes you can get them for cheaper than that, like $2,500. So that is a hard sell to go with an ultra short throw. But like Rusty said, prior to that, when our TVs were 77 inches, 100 inch, 120 was awesome. You couldn't get that. And it was a fraction of the cost of going with a Sony or, a JVC. And you got a good picture, really nice picture, just not the best, but a good picture. And you got a really big screen. And so that was great. So I'm with you, Rusty. I think the TV market is definitely encroaching on that market. I don't see it replacing actual projectors, but I do see the ultra short throws really being kind of pushed to the side, probably.
And I don't, it'll be interesting. I hate to make predictions, but the video walls are also advancing a lot and becoming more accessible for home installations. I feel like it's not quite there yet, at least not for me, where I'm ready to, throw away my projector or sell it. But, I think we're not too far away from maybe some of those screens taking over projectors.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm just cracking up. Electron Ash says, this is why I like the channel, because Michael generally won't tell you, no, those are terrible, but rather that could work for your specific setup, but they're just not for me, which is true. I think that ultra short throw projectors do have their place. They're just not for my setup. Now, if I wanted to do that in the living room prior to these big TVs, I think it'd be a good fit because you've got the ambient light rejection screen, you got this big massive image. But like Rusty said, man, I'd rather right now try a 100-inch, 110-inch TV in the living room than I would an ultra short throw. But for my dedicated theater room, absolutely not. I don't really recommend it there. I think there's a lot of better options out there.
Yeah, and that's the key word, and that's what I was going to say. Is it's all about what are your options today, and sometimes your options are, well, okay, my budget's $3,000, and if that's your budget, then that limits your options to those things.
Yeah,
you can spend $3,000 on a projector screen easily. So
sure.
What was the comment? I forgot how he phrased it, but like, that not for me, but maybe for you.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, because it depends on what your constraints are.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you have the option, let's set the budget at NZ 800 and XD screen. Well, you definitely want to do that. There's no question to it.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna jump down to the bottom, and then we'll go back up to the top, just because we were talking about MWAVE. How much is our MWAVE tickets? They're $75. And is there a one-day pass? There isn't. And the biggest reason is that I truly believe for $75, you're getting a massive value, even if you can only make it one day. When you look at the schedule on the website, I'll take you there just super quick. On the schedule, if we go up to, let me make this bigger. So go under attend schedule, and you take a look at this. Now, Friday night's going to be a little different because it's a shorter day. You've got basically from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. But on Saturday and Sunday, I mean, my goodness, man, $75 for the entire access to all. I think we've got 14 rooms. We've got a TV comparison room. We've got a projector comparison room. And then you've got all of these seminars and tech talks. And these are from leading experts. And same thing down here. You've got all of these. And so if I click on any one of these, it'll take you over to the seminars page, and it starts up at the top. And so you can see on Saturday, you've got all of these seminars from leading experts talking about different things in home theater, from design to bass management. And that's all just on Saturday. And then you get to Sunday. Guess what? You got more. So I think, looking at the schedule and what we're offering, it's a huge value, even if you can only make it one day. So let me pop back here. Is SVS going to be there? Yep, they are. And the easiest way to do that is go to the page, or go to the MidwestAVExperience.com, click on brands. You'll see all the brands listed. SVS is paired up with NFM. And actually, just to make it easier, I'm a visual kind of guy, so just telling you. All right, we're back on the website. So up here at the top, just click on brands, and then you'll see NFM in room 2208. NFM is partnered with SVS. And then if you click on SVS, it shows you actually what they're bringing. They've specifically told us, here's what we're bringing to the show. And I'm super pumped for you guys. They are bringing a 2-channel setup, which is the Ultra Evolution Pinnacles. They're going to be pairing that with an Arkham amp and probably an Arkham pre-amp combo. And then for the home theater system, they're going to do a full Dolby Atmos setup. This is going to have 2 of the Titans, the Evolution Center, 2 of the Ultra bookshelves, and then 4 of the Height Elevation. And this is all from their new series. And so we're excited about that. They'll have dual PB16s using a Marantz Cinema 30. And check it out, ultra short throw for you guys. So if you're interested in seeing what an ultra short throw looks like, they're going to have one set up in their home theater. And so, so I'm excited about that. So you'll have a chance to hear that in both 2-channel as well as home theater.
And somebody did have a good point about an advantage of ultra short throw is they can be acoustic transparent. So if you wanting to put your speakers behind your screen, that's another pro.
Okay. All right, let's see. Youthman, would you be willing to try out or review an MP5 from JVC just to see how it compares to the NZ projectors? Haven't really considered that projector. The good thing is I believe, if I remember correctly, I think we're going to have one of those at the show. Do you remember that one? I know there was talks of it, but I don't know if we were able to get one.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so that one is okay. So my bad. I thought we were gonna have one at MWAVE this year.
I can tell you keep talking and I'll look it
don't
up.
have. I'll be honest, Chris. I don't have that one like on the projectors are hard for me to review. And the biggest reason is the way my room is set up. I don't have easy access to where the projector is. It literally takes me and somebody else because I have to climb on a chair. I'm leaning inside my daughter's closet, sliding this thing onto a shelf. And then I have to remove mine. I have to realign mine. So I really have no desire to move mine out to check out another one. Now I could put up like a temporary, like a shelf just in the room on the second row, like a table. It just wouldn't fill my screen. So,
well, hey, it may be Chris's lucky day. He doesn't need a review because we are going to have the NP5.
So that is one of them. Cool.
Yeah. And we're going to have LS 12,000.
Okay.
And I don't know the proper way to pronounce this, but it's Gimi.
X Gimi.
Is it X? Do you pronounce the X?
That's the way I've always pronounced it. X Gimi.
Okay. So an Xgimi Horizon Ultra and the XW 5000. And the thought process here is these are going to be more of the probably more commonly considered. There's not nearly as many NZ9 buyers, so it's not as relevant to as many people. Okay. So wanted to show some options that would be probably more relevant for the general, a broader audience.
Cool. Chris said he's going to be there on Saturday. Like I said, Chris, if you want a name badge, get that ticket in tonight because we're going to be ordering those tomorrow. We'll have plenty of blank ones at the show, and actually last year we ran out.
I was going to say, Michael, because I meant to mention that earlier, but when we were talking earlier,
we ran out.
You said you had like 50 sales right before, but then I think you had 50 blank badges.
I forgot. We had people walking around. There was a gentleman that walked around with a MWAVE pin as his ticket
credential.
Yeah, because there were like security guys going, we're going to try to make sure that nobody's in your rooms that doesn't have a lanyard. And so they're attaching this pin to a lanyard because we literally ran out. So I'll do my best to order.
But that was like 50 pre-printed or pre-printed blank tickets before that we sold at the event. Yeah. So you can still buy tickets up to Sunday at 3:00.
Yeah. So I would encourage you to get it in tonight, and then that way you get a badge. But we'll hook you up. Either way. How many hours on your NZ8? So I sold my NZ8 with 600 hours. So like barely used. This thing it's rated for 20,000 hours at half life. It's not 20,000 hours and it shuts down and blows up. It's at half brightness basically. Wow. How many episodes of Survivor did you watch on it? We watched, honestly, I don't know how many on that particular projector. Yeah, I couldn't even tell.
That's actually more hours than I thought you were going to say. Now I'm curious to go check and see what mine is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you just
40 hours on his, and you guys are always dogging me. Michael, don't even ever use this theorem.
No, now I need to go check. I'll send you a picture later. Whenever.
So part of it. I don't always watch movies. For a while I played a lot of games. On mine. I went through God of War. I went through The Last of Us, which is phenomenal. There's some really, really cool games. Speaking of that, Black Ops 6 just dropped, as not the game, but like the trailer, and they had the Xbox event out in California. My son's there, him and his wife. So we've been keeping my grandson here at the house till Tuesday is when they come back. But he's over there as a content creator. He does videos on TikTok. And so he was invited to there. So him and some other content creators rented this big old mansion, this Airbnb. And so they're going there and they got all their camera gear and stuff. And so it's pretty awesome. So
are you playing Helldivers with Ryan and Jonathan?
I didn't ever play with Ryan and Jonathan. I played with my son and some friends. But I don't know. I loved it at first, but then it got old real quick. I just lost interest completely. Just seemed like I was doing the same thing over and over.
Dying.
That too. I wasn't as good as they were. Man, shut up, dude.
That's how I play video games. It
That's
just,
funny.
all I do is respawn after every
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I wasn't real good at it, but they had better weapons because they play a lot more, and so they level up. And so I'm like shooting, and
You
the
have a
things aren't dying.
slingshot and they've got tow missiles.
Yeah, I get it. Let's see. Build a separate room for the projector and maybe other equipment. Cool. That's a great idea. So go as tall and as wide as you can. You'll appreciate the extra space. Get expert advice on HVAC and air exchanges for the room. So SRW 1000 is building an incredible room. It's going to be super, super dope. So
I didn't realize he was building a new room because you did his interview or his tour a while ago, right?
All right, wait a minute. So maybe I'm getting them confused. SRW 1000, is that Sheldon?
No.
I thought it was Ryan Chirpy.
No, Chirpy.
SRW 1000. Let me know.
Chirpy is Chirpy.
Okay.
SRW 1000.
Oh
Man, I can picture his face, but I can't remember what his.
And forgive me, I don't visit the SV or the AVS forum hardly ever. So
yeah, I'm trying to remember.
No, I have the room with the hidden book. Oh, okay. Wow, I did not.
Yes.
Okay. I got you. Yeah, that is super, super cool. He's got the JBL. I don't remember the model numbers. You got a big room, bro. I think your room's awesome. He's got super, super tall. He's got this cool, like you don't even know it's a room. You walk in the front door, there's a bookcase on the left. You like slide this door open. It's like, oh yeah. Yeah, some reason my brain thought Chirpy tonight. So my bad. That makes sense. His would be Chirpy, not. Did I answer his question?
No, it was more of a comment.
Okay.
We're pretty far behind.
Yeah, sorry about that. Haley, Survivor's going to look amazing on that NZ800. What a waste. No, that's the thing. It's like, here's my thought. If it brings me joy and it gives me quality time with my wife, like Jessica, this is the first time ever that Jessica every single week says, hey, can we go watch Survivor in the theater room? Heck
yeah, babe.
Let's do that every single week. To me, that's not a waste. Actually, they've got really good soundtrack. Now it's streaming, so it's not amazing, but I love the music in there. So, but yeah, we have a great time, but I do gaming on it. I do, of course, movies with Kaleidoscape. I do physical media. I do RIP media. So there's all kinds of use that my theater gets. Jay, what is going on, man? Let me scroll down here. Appreciate the $10 super chat. He said, I'm excited about seeing the seating models at the show, specifically the Barcelona from Valencia. Will they be there? Great question there, Jay. Let me pull this back up because honestly, I just updated this earlier this week. Valencia contacted me and they gave me exactly what they're bringing. So if we go to brands, scroll down here to Valencia theater seating. So what they're bringing the 3 Monza carbons. So they sent them to me to review, and then we sent them to Ryan. He's storing those, and so they'll be bringing those to the show. They are bringing a Barcelona, so they're just bringing single chairs. So that'll be a Barcelona double armchair. They're going to bring a Tuscany. This is new. Check this out. Tuscany Ultimate Luxury chair with ventilation and heat. So this is some new features that they've added to some of their series. They're bringing one of the Oslo Ultimate Luxury, and they're also bringing one of the Tuscany executive chairs with heat and massage. So if we take a look at this, so there's the Monza that I reviewed. So there'll be 3 of those. This is the new executive. Not sure I'm digging the whole wood grain on the front, but some people love wood. So that gives a little bit different vibe there. That's got heat and massage in it. So here's the Barcelona. That's the low back. So you can check those out. Also, row 1 will be there again. So Todd has his seats that are like that as well. So they're the low backs. Of course, the Tuscany Ultimate Luxury, that's going to have the heat and ventilation, and then the Oslo. One thing that's cool is, so I love the style of the Oslo, but they're definitely more firm. So some of you that like a more firm seat, I think the Oslo is a better fit. I feel like a little bit more cushy. It's definitely not like plush, but definitely to me a softer feel the Tuscany is a good fit there. But yeah, so they will be there for sure. All right. Yeah, I got a call with Todd from row 1 tomorrow. Let's see. Willie, does anyone have their projector behind glass? So that's going to be a question for you guys. Rusty, do you have one?
I don't. I was
Mine's just in a hole.
trying to look it up because I know there's some like better theater glass, but what a friend of mine did.
Skimp on that.
Yeah. Well, what a friend of mine did is he just bypassed it, just like you, and he put the projector all the way up to the hole in the wall. And the way he did it is he made a frame and then used like I'm pretty sure it was like the weather stripping you put around like your door.
Okay.
It's like adhesive backed on one side.
Yeah.
And so he put that around the frame so that whenever he kind of gently pushed the projector up, the foam doesn't touch the lens. It touches the body around the lens. So that way you get a nice seal. If you're presumably you're trying to seal out the noise and keep that inside the projection room.
Yeah.
It worked out really well. And then you don't have to deal with the glass at all. And I mean, the less you have to shine through, the better.
Yep. I agree. But if you're trying to keep out noise, I can see. Yeah. But like what you were saying, if you can kind of separate it with that weather stripping, that may help with that. Scott says run 20 sub cables. You just never know.
I mean, you need to be prepared.
Yeah. Willie, I have no idea what kind of percentage of Americans build their own houses. Honestly, probably most of them don't. Most people buy their own houses.
Yeah.
But and especially if you're talking like true building, like custom, probably very few people do that. When I say build, these are
spec home.
Yeah, at the time, it's in a community, and so the builder at that time had like, I don't know, 7 floor plans, and you pick one. So you don't really get to customize anything other than you pick out your cabinets or you pick out your flooring and your lighting fixtures. But
yeah, it's not uncommon. Yeah, it's not uncommon for new development areas they give you a menu of 5 homes and then 5 finishes, and then you get to pick
plans.
Yeah, 5 floor plans. And
sometimes you can pick the outer, what do they call it, the elevation, how it looks on the front.
You can tweak some things, but the basic plans are not, especially like rooms. You'll get a little flexibility, but not a ton. Unless you go custom home, then you can do whatever you want, and
it's usually more
price. The price goes up, but yeah,
for sure. But yeah, as far as what percentage, honestly, I have no idea.
Richard,
is there anything wrong with using a bi speaker? I think that's what they're called instead of okay. So you're probably referring to a bipole or a dipole. So there's 2 different types. Back in the day, Dolby recommended like bipole and dipole speakers for your surrounds, because really the idea there is you just want to disperse the sound so that your ears couldn't tell exactly where it was coming from. Then once we got into things like object based surround sound and DTSX and all that stuff, they really started kind of recommending what I would consider a monopole or a direct radiating speaker, so they're not like firing at 2 different directions. So I would probably recommend just going with a standard, not a bipole or dipole nowadays. So now there's one benefit I could see talking about your room size. If you don't have a lot of space behind you, it might be better to do one of those as rear speakers, because that way it kind of just surrounds your head versus firing right at the back of your head. So I could see that.
All right. Would you recommend those, like if you were putting a speaker maybe between multiple rows, like if you had 2 or 3 rows, would that make sense?
It could. I see what you're saying. So like in my case, my surrounds are actually in between the front row and the back row. But and part of that probably depends on the dispersion pattern of that speaker. If you got a wide enough dispersion, it's going to hit the front and the back row. If it's a real narrow dispersion, somebody's getting left out. So that it might be a a good fit. Don't know. All right, we got a few more comments here, then we'll wrap it up. We're at right about
they're pretty short ones.
Yeah. Great demo would involve having acoustic panels that could almost immediately be moved in and out of place to demo the difference. Yeah, so it's still hard to do in real time because it's hard to remove 10 panels like instantly. You know, it's like you got to listen, then take them all out, come back in. It's pretty obvious, Willie. If you've got 10 panels in a room, 12 panels in a room, it'll be really obvious just when you put them in. You're like, this is a different space.
So this is one I started because I think I like this idea, and I've thought about it in the past, and it is a bit of a logistical challenge.
Yeah.
But what I had thought, and I'm curious, I'll throw it out to the community to make this idea better. But I wonder if you used the piano wire and you hung it up high, right? And you know the whole, out to lunch sign that you flip around that you see at the storefront. If you could hang them on the walls and then have like a solid plywood or hard surface or something that would,
on the back side of it.
Yeah. Maybe have it sheetrock on the back side.
Yeah.
You could potentially just flip them around quickly and then do your thing and then flip them back. Might be a way to test it.
But you're still to flip 10 or 11 or 12 panels. I mean, you're still talking a couple, maybe like a minute to do all of them.
I think that'd still be a pretty good demo.
Yeah.
It's not instant.
I think here's the thing. I don't think you need to do a demo. I can tell you right now, if you put a bunch of panels, now again, if you only put 2, it's probably not going to make that much of a difference. But if you put 10 panels in there, I did that in my room. I promise you, it's an immediate like, oh, this room's different. And now I've got some on the ceiling. I've got some on the side walls. I've got some on the front wall, some on the back wall. It's not covered, so it's not a dead room, but it's definitely everybody. When we walk through my hallway, I almost intentionally am talking when I'm leading somebody in the room, or when they're leading, I'm talking behind them. And then when we walk in the room, almost everybody's like, oh, wow. Like, this is different. I've never experienced this because we're so used to being in a living room that's real echoey. And so it's a different feel for sure.
I still say my favorite room for acoustic treatment is Grant's. And he's not hosting a VIP this year, but he is attending.
Yeah.
But my goodness, when you walk in that room, it feels like I feel peaceful. It's just peaceful in there because it is so quiet. The noise floor is so low. So that's probably one of the more underrated features that we don't talk about is having a low noise floor.
Well, the thing with his too is he's got this massive thick door. So when you shut that door and it goes, whoop, it's like a vacuum. I mean, it changes the pressure in that room too. And like you said, you really feel isolated. Like, I'm separate now from the house, which is really, really cool.
And I think that's why I'm interested to hear Chirpy's room, because he's done, like, I don't even know the entire room now, but just the door is an engineering marvel.
Sure.
So I'm interested that's going to be a fun one. So if anybody, I'm going to his at 4:00 because I figure I'll be done by, set up stuff by then.
What day are you going?
Well, Thursday is the only day.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were like doing it Wednesday.
Oh, no. I'm just doing the, normal paid VIP tour at Chirpy's. But so if anybody's going to be there at 4:00, look forward to hanging out with you.
Sweet, man. There was one I want to make sure I starred.
While you're doing that, I'll go to the next one. So,
I know what it was. I'm sorry. It's actually right here.
Okay, go ahead.
We'll go ahead and hit that one. We'll hit this one.
So this was same gentleman said, one of my tips is always put the screen as low as you can get away with. Most I see are a bit too high for my taste anyways. And I 100% agree with this. To me, the magic formula, there's no magic to it. It's you get your seat set up and you recline back and you see how tall your feet are, and then put the screen above that a little bit. Because mine in 16:9 mode, is maybe a little bit too low, just a tad bit too low if my feet are in the way.
Oh, I
I'm
see.
fully reclined. But in CinemaScope, it's perfect. And so a good rule of thumb is 1/3 of the bottom of the height. A third of the height is where you want your eye level to be from the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
And to me, that works out great. Because that way it's like a little bit high, because it's better to look up a little than to look down. But I've seen some that I don't like it where I'm having to like stare up at the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Willie.
So adding another tip, go at least. So I use 2x10s when I built my riser. So if you think you got a piece of plywood on the bottom, piece of plywood on the top, and 2x10s, I really wish I would have went with 2x12s to raise that up higher. It's a little too short in the back. Good thing is when everybody's reclined, it's fine. And my saving grace, I had to mount my projector screen higher. Mine's almost 3 feet off the ground. And the biggest reason is because that is where my cabinet is. I had to have a place below it. So, but yeah, I'm with you on that.
Well, and these next three we can hit in rapid succession, because I just, I think we got a lot of people saying the same thing. It's like SRW 1000 says, mine is, we were talking about the size of the theater room.
Sure.
And, a few people are like, well, man, that's an enormous room.
Yeah, 17 foot wide is huge.
Well, I think I said 20 and said that's enormous.
I'm looking at that going, oh, your room is massive, and he wants a bigger room.
And 17 feet, and I still wish I had gone wider.
Yeah,
I know it's hard to believe, but it's amazing how fast the space goes. And somebody else said the same thing. Mine is 17 by 22. It is true that it does fill up quick. We just finished a second row riser, and the room literally fills half the size.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I think that was just those. I don't know if I even put that one up on the screen.
Planet Hulk, appreciate the $5 super chat. He says, hello from Home Theater. Hello, Home Theater Brothers. What will the parking be like for MWAVE? So MWAVE is in downtown Kansas City in Missouri. So kind of your typical, there are two main locations right where, so the convention center is huge. We're in Bartle Hall. And if you look at the map if you go to the MWAVE website and go to attend venue, there's a map of the area, and you can see like where we're at. You can see where the local hotels are at in relation to that. I don't think I've got parking there. It might be a good thing to update on the map. But there are two really close by. One is a parking garage. And then if that one fills up, on the other side, there's like a parking lot. I don't think I ever had any problem finding parking spaces. You pay, the only bad thing is you pay for the whole day. And I found this out too. If you leave, like let's say you want to drive and go get lunch and come back, you pay again. It's not an all-day pass, which kind of
and don't think that you're going to beat the system, because you will get parking tickets, as Michael learned too.
I did get a parking ticket.
I thought you got 3 parking tickets. No, just one?
I think it was only one. And the reason is I pulled up right next to the convention center. We hopped out. We were getting set up. I didn't think anything about Ryan's truck. It sat out there all day. And then I come out there and I'm like, oh crap, I should have put that in the parking garage. So definitely don't park right next to it, because those are time constrained. But
yeah, they definitely enforce, and be prepared.
Somebody else got a warning. I think Chris got a warning. I got the ticket though.
Yeah. Be prepared to pay for parking, because
I think
most of it is like 30 plus.
Is it 30 a day?
I parked at the Marriott next door to the convention center, and I think it was like $38 a day or something.
Okay, so that's at the hotel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so if you're paying at the hotel, it's going to cost more. If you're in the parking lots, I think if I remember correctly, they were either 20 a day, maybe 25 a day.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, I can't really remember. Scott Friend says the big garage is closed now. The city closed it due to age. Well, that stinks. Tell them they need to open it back up. Okay, so it might be on the other side. hopefully there'll still be plenty of spaces. Well, we got one more question. We'll drop this in here. Kind of a cool thought to end on. Your DIY helper says, what are your thoughts on companies exploiting home theater enthusiasts? One example, Green Glue, which has doubled its price. If you compare it to carpet glue, it essentially performs the same way. So here are my thoughts on pricing. My personal belief is that a company can charge whatever they want. If Green Glue wants to charge 3 times of what it's quote worth, we as a consumer just don't have to buy it. Either there's an alternative or we just do something else. We put screws, or we make our own stuff or whatever. So I'm not opposed to a company charging what they feel is adequate for their product. The biggest reason is we don't know what their costs are, what their margins are, what their overhead is. Every company has, Rusty, you've owned your own company. Every company has their own expenses, and it's easy for us on the outside looking in, trying to dictate how much they should charge. We see that with MWAVE. We see it with Kaleidoscape. We see it for a lot of things. I look at Ferrari and go, dadgummit, man, they should be $40,000 so I can afford one. But it's never going to be that way. So I'm not opposed to Green Glue charging more. Now, if they double their prices, I don't know why they double their prices. I know the bread that I buy doubled. I know that, the bananas that I buy doubled.
Yeah.
The whole daggum world is gone nuts right now. We're just in a really weird place that everything costs way more than what it used to. Everything.
And I think there's definitely there's a mixed bag here. And I don't know the specifics of Green Glue, right? But yes, there are some people, sometimes it's just business doing business, right?
Yeah.
And this is what it takes to keep employees want raises and benefits and good working conditions. And it's just, and because grocery bills double, you got to increase wages, and that's why prices go up. And so sometimes it's just business. Sometimes it is people profiteering or taking advantage of a situation. We saw this a lot in COVID, and they said, well, so-and-so raised their prices, so now's the time for me to raise my prices too. And, while everybody's desensitized. So some of it's just cashing in on an opportunity. But like you said, you don't have to buy it.
Correct.
And I think what is kind of, there's a delay, but what can be nice is, I didn't even know about the carpet glue thing being the same. But I think when you have problems like this, as it forces people to get creative and find new solutions, it encourages other companies to get into that market space and maybe come up and innovate and come up with a better product that, performs better for half the cost. So it could be a good thing, even if it's on a delay.
Yeah.
But, who knows? Specifically to Green Glue, maybe it was just their material costs went up. Who knows?
Sure. Yeah. And there's definitely some things in the home theater space that cost more, and you're like, man, I can do this for cheaper. And if you can, that's great. Nothing wrong with that. So, but yeah, I just don't know even think about this. Certain companies have marketing budgets. Some of them don't. Some of them just do word of mouth. And so that can cause or can play into how much somebody charges for a product. So again, I don't really try to dictate what somebody, just like with me, I don't want somebody dictating how much I charge for building a website for a client,
So
how
now
much for MWAVE.
I was going to say, this would be a perfect time to announce that next year ticket prices are going to be $200 a person. Does that seem appropriate?
Right. Let's hit it. No,
I'm just kidding.
We aren't.
Just kidding.
Yeah. I actually just started another one. Oh yeah. So this one, that started up in 1,000. The market sets the price. That minus the cost equals profit. As long as people buy, there's no reason to reduce the price. You're right. So there's always the law of supply and demand, So if people stop buying, they either go out of business or they adjust their pricing, or they figure out a way to make it cheaper so that they can lower their prices. So there's definitely some options there. I did star one more. I thought this was interesting. Ender Robinson says Valencia seats are not great unless you're under 5'7" or under. So basically way shorter than 6 feet. The adjustable headrest just pushes into your shoulders. Don't believe all the influencers that get these for free. So Valencia sent every chair that I've ever received from Valencia, they sent them to me for free to review. They've never once asked me to say anything good, bad, indifferent. If you watch my videos, I shoot you straight. I'm like, this LED light sucks. Like, why are you shooting it straight out at my screen? That makes no sense to me. Put something on the front, block it, whatever. I wasn't a big fan when I did the review of the Monza. There's this like silver, I don't even know what you call it, Rusty. It's literally a heavy aluminum that you slide into the cup holder, and that is now your accessory port. That seems weird to me. I got to put that in every time I want to put a tray table in, or a iPhone holder or something like that, or an iPad holder or popcorn bowl.
I'll be interested to see how that works out in practice.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to tell you what I really believe as a consumer, because I don't even look at myself as a reviewer, or especially not an influencer. I'm a home theater enthusiast that companies send me product and I review it based off of what I love, what I like, what I dislike. And I just share my experience with that product with you guys, because I realize that you don't have the opportunity for Valencia to send you chairs, and then Row One to send you chairs, and then Four Seating to send you chairs. I just happen to, this is what I do for a living. And so when a company sends me, I'm not obligated to say jack diddly, good or bad, about a company. So going to the headrest, okay? So as I would never keep anything in my home theater that I don't like, okay? Think about that. If I want to be using these things every single day, if my family is going to be using these, I don't care if they're free. If they're crap, they're not staying in there. And I'm going to let you guys know, because my reputation, my opinion, my character, all of that, that means more to me than a free product. Does that make sense? So are these, I find them very comfortable. Now, what I do know is Valencia has two different mechanisms, two different styles, because some of the ones that I have reviewed, I'm trying to remember how they do it, but they would start to rotate, but then they would also lift up. And I actually like that mechanism better. But then some of them are just on a flat swivel. They just do this right here. Does that make sense? So one kind of goes up and curves, and then the other one is just a flat swivel. So I like the one that goes up and curves. Maybe that's more expensive to manufacture. Don't know. And I don't even know which models had that. I preferred that one. What he's saying as far as push against your neck, I don't have any discomfort. What I typically do is I just lift up my head, let it get to where I want it, and then I'll lay my head back. Super comfortable there. Now, if you're wanting a seat that you can just get in a reclined position and start leaning the seat up and it just perfectly adjusts your head to where you want it, maybe that's not the right seat for you. But as far as like it pushing into your shoulders, again, if you want to just sit there and let it, like maybe your certain height, it kind of pinches you, just lean forward, let the thing get to where you want it, and then lean back. You're good to go.
For reference for the audience, you're 5'11", right?
I'm 5'11", correct.
Okay, and I'm 5'9". I have Valencia Tuscany Ultimate Luxury. I think it's such a long name. I'm never sure if I got it right.
They're trying to make it sound fancy.
I'm 5'9". I use the headrest. I use it subtly. Like I don't like crank it all the way out, because that's like weird. Like you end up staring at your knees. But I don't have a problem with the headrest. I will say I hate the lumbar support. It is.
I never use lumbar.
I never use it. The lumbar support comes, I don't know, it's like mid back. It's not comfortable. So, hey, for what it's worth, you know, if you're 5'9", you may not like the lumbar.
No, I don't use a lumbar in my truck either, or my car, you know. So
yeah, I think I'm
not a
little
lumbar
bit.
person.
I use it in my office chair.
Yeah. So Electron, I use Jack Daily squat. I don't even know if I've ever even said that, but basically you're trying to be like, I'm gonna keep it clean here, man. Not that I say things bad when I'm off air, but that's just me. I don't say bad stuff. So that's my way of cussing. Maybe, but I don't. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that trying to see if there's anything else. I think we're good to go.
So plans. So I guess number one, MWAVE, 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
Buy your tickets tonight.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna export the data and start printing tomorrow. Get those badges ready. Man, it's crazy. It's 11 days away. Yeah. But my wife reminded me, she's like, we leave town in 7 days. I'm like, oh man, or I guess 8.
Well, that's the thing I started thinking about. I'm like, well, shoot, I'm leaving a couple of days early to get there. So that's less time. And my biggest thing, we've got to get the tickets or the badges ordered and the lanyards. We've got to, I need to design and print probably 17 banners that are going to go outside the doors. There'll be small banners just to let you know, okay, Sony's in this room or JVC's in this room or whoever. So I've got self-censorship. That's right. So I've got to design those and print those and get those ordered. There's like 4 kind of major things that I need to do. Some of them are small.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of like just last minute detail things, but I think we're looking really good.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to meeting you guys. Some of you guys are new. We've got folks traveling literally all over the world. And this is a small event. I mean, we started out in 2022. We had 83 total. I mean, we're talking everybody, vendors and everything. Last year we had just over 300, just basically like 302 or something like that. And then this year, Rusty, we are currently at.
Yeah, we were at 376 at the beginning of the show. I think that's what I told you.
I think Eventbrite. I got an app on the phone, organizer. So I've got 300. That is
378.
378. Yeah.
So we sold a couple tickets during the show. So get your tickets in.
So more than likely, if I had to guess, I think we'll probably end up around 450. So going from 300 to 450 is still a huge jump. Super, super grateful for you guys, for your support of the event. We just want to make the best event possible. There's nobody doing a home theater event. A lot of 2-channel events out there, and they're great, and they have some home theater, but we really are we're wanting to provide for you guys, the home theater hobbyists and enthusiasts, and just doing some things that are different in the space. Oh yeah, there's definitely room to grow if you're referring to the thing, MWAVE. But anyway, man, we're right at 2 hours, just a little over. Appreciate you guys. Rusty, anything else before we close up?
I think I had something, but I already lost it. So I think we're good to go. That means it's time to go to bed. We're at my bedtime now.
I'm going to go to bed early tonight because I need to get that Mad VR.
So it's early, like 2 a.m.?
No, my plan is to get up at 7 a.m., which is really rare for me. Jessica's going to get me up. But I'm going to go to bed about 11, which is, it's 10:30 now. So basically, I'll go to bed at 11, get up at 7, and then I need to film. But then I want to get a couple of things knocked out before you and I start meeting. So to work on badges. Good. So
I'll be talking to you early in the morning.
Hopefully not too early.
Well, as soon as you're ready.
All right. I'm thinking like 9 a.m. my time.
Sounds good.
Won't be super early. All right, guys. Hope y'all have an incredible week. Hope to see you at MWAVE 2024. Hard to believe it's in 11 days. Get all the details on the website, MidwestAVExperience.com. Take care. Have a great week. God bless. See you.
Take care.